Welcome to my tutorial of Paperboy for the NES. And I just wanted to do a real quick and simple tutorial for this game because I didn't understand how to beat it many years ago, but recently I saw a video that kind of enlightened me on how to play the game, so I'm just going to try to cover how to beat the game, which is mostly what I do on my channel. I'm mostly trying to add to my kill list, which is my games beaten list across all platforms that I play. So my goal was just to beat the game, not to get a high score. So in this game, it took me around an hour and 15 minutes to beat. What I did was I used save states on an emulator to practice each stage so that I could pretty much beat each stage without losing a life and at least maintaining one subscriber. So what you have to do in this game is you have to ride your bike through all 7 stages. There's one for each day of the week. So you have to survive all 7 days. It ends on Sunday. And the red houses are going to be your non-subscribers, and all the other colors are going to be your subscribers. So you want to try to land a newspaper in the driveway marked by the colored bar in front of the house, usually near the door, or directly in the mailbox, and that counts as delivering the newspaper to that house. If you don't, you'll know because you won't hear a ringing sound. Whenever you deliver a paper successfully to a subscriber, you get a ringing sound. Now these training courses you can just crash on. Since we're just trying to beat the game, you don't get any one-ups off of points or anything. You're not going to earn any extra lives off of points, so it's a waste of your time. And once you get to the training course, you can crash into the sidewalk and it doesn't count as a death. So you'll see here there's canceled subscriptions. That means that these are the houses that were subscribers, the white houses and yellow houses and blue and all that, but you didn't deliver a paper to them or you smashed their window on accident. If you break their windows, you also lose them as a subscriber. So either you don't deliver the paper or you smash one of their windows will make them unsubscribe. You want to have at least one subscriber left by the end of the game, and then you'll beat the game. As long as you have one, which is pretty easy to do, you can lose a lot of subscribers and still keep that, as long as you keep one hanging on. Now, if you get a perfect run where you deliver your newspapers to all your subscribers, you earn an extra subscriber for the next day, which can be beneficial and make it a little easier not to lose all your subscribers if you get an extra one here and there. It is very easy to get perfect runs when you only have 1 or 2 subscribers remaining, obviously, because then a perfect run means you only have to deliver successfully to 1 or 2, subscribers that you have remaining. That will count as a perfect run, since that's all that you have to deliver to at that point. So the main trick here, and the main strategy was something I saw in another video, is to stay on that line that's right above the sidewalk, where the sidewalk meets the lawn, the front lawn for the houses. There's a little line right up the middle. You want to stay on that line the whole time, and most of the time I hold up and go full speed. So we'll see more of a demonstration of that. That's the main strategy, with some modification to dodging a few obstacles here and there, which I'll explain a little bit more. You're going to see that I lost most of my lives. It wasn't really a clean one, but I figured I would break it down because it's an easy game to beat if you're interested in beating it and just getting the ending, getting it successfully killed, which is all I'm trying to do most of the time. So, this will show you just straight to the point how to beat the game. So you see I'm riding that line. Now, you want to minimize getting the newspapers and doing all that stuff. You can pick up the bundles of newspapers if you want. But if you're playing the way I'm playing, I don't even use the newspapers much at all except to deliver. The only time I use a newspaper defensively to protect myself is from the dogs, when I drive by the little dogs. But most of the time I only use the newspaper to try to deliver it, so I don't really need to collect the newspapers that often. I will collect them occasionally, but I don't go crazy with that, because I already know what I have to do to beat the game, so I don't need extra newspapers. So you're mostly going to stay on that line, but when you see breakdancers and some of the other obstacles, you're going to have to go off of that line. But that line will keep you safe from skateboarders and a lot of the other enemies, but not the dogs and not some of the other enemies. So there's certain enemies that you will have to diverge from that line to dodge them. Now see here, I did something stupid. It looks like you can fit between the dog and the doghouse, but I forgot that the hitboxes in this game are massive. So you can't really squeeze in between small spaces like that. So don't try to do that. Just go around the dog and then throw a newspaper at it, which you'll probably see me do it a few times, the proper way. But yeah, mostly you're going to ride on that line, like I said, that connects the lawn to the sidewalk. And you stay on that line, and you'll be able to cruise through a lot of the different types of enemies. But there's a few that you're going to have to get off and dodge. So we'll see a little bit more of that. Since there's 7 days, there's enough time for me to kind of show how to do it properly. But that's pretty much how the game works. You survive the 7 days. You have 3 lives to do it. There's no continues. And you cannot earn any 1-ups or extra lives. So most of the time, like I said, I slow down a little bit to try to throw the paper and land it into the driveway or the mailbox. And if you get your spacing down, you'll get used to, the distance when you start releasing the newspaper, based on your distance from the house and your speed. You'll get used to it. But I wasn't real concerned about it. As long as I could get a few of them, I was able to beat the game. That's all I needed. I wasn't trying to get a high score. So as long as I could land, one of them on each stage, I'll stay alive. So that's the thing. Make sure, it's good to try to get more of the houses. Try to land newspapers on more of the subscribers and keep more of them. But as long as you can keep one, you'll beat the game. But it is risky to lose all your subscribers and just leave one left, because then if you miss that one house, I believe you'll fail the game. Those tornadoes can be a little tricky, so that one got me. But the tornadoes do not play by the rule of staying on the line, and neither do the Grim Reapers. Though a lot of this stuff, I think pretty much all these obstacles are scripted on each day, meaning they are always the same. They move in the same way. So you can memorize each day. And now I didn't do that, but I did get a good feel for the patterns by just practicing with save states until I could beat each stage without dying pretty much. Now I may have allowed myself to die on one of the later stages during practice, because I knew by that point I'm at the end of the game, so I wasn't really too concerned with mastering the last few stages. And I didn't really master any of the stages. I just practiced them until I was able to go through them, without dying. Basically, very pretty damn simple. But yeah, for these breakdancers, drive around them and go around most of that shit. But most of the time, if you ride on this line, you'll be safe. For 90% of the time. But lawnmowers are another one you got to watch out for. So usually with the lawnmowers, I usually go up into the grass and then back down again, because their pattern makes them go down onto the sidewalk a little bit as you're driving by. For these hot rods, as long as you're going full speed when you hit the road, those hot rods will never hit you the ones riding down the road. You want to avoid being in the streets at all, because there's a lot of dangerous shit in the streets. And it's the most dangerous part of the area of the game. You don't have a lot of room to maneuver in this game, so staying on that line and making slight movements is the easiest way to avoid everything. And like I said, most of the time I don't need to collect the newspapers, because I'm not really using that many for what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to beat it, so I don't have to. You can get extra points by destroying windows on the non-subscribers and things like that. So yeah, whenever I get to the training course, I crash. But I do show a completion of the training course at the very end of the game, just for, just for the fuck of it, just to show it. But now you see, it says I have a resubscriber because I got a perfect delivery, or whatever. But the reason I got a perfect run was because I only had one subscriber left. So I delivered to my one subscriber, and then by doing that, I got a perfect run. And then now I have 2 subscribers, which is good, because if you have 2 of them, it gives you a little bit of leeway if you miss one, But you mostly want to stay on this little line right here. But remember, certain enemies don't follow the rules of the line, so you got to know which ones, and you got to get a little used to that. That's why you want to practice a little bit. It's not as simple as just riding the line the whole time. You want to practice a little bit. The trickiest things are probably the lawnmower and the wheel and things like that. You want to get used to how those move. But they pretty much move the same each time. So once you know their patterns, you can kind of predict what they're going to do each time you run into them. Of course, the wheels will roll differently on each encounter, so they're not as predictable. But the lawnmower usually follows a very specific pattern based on where it starts. It seems to follow kind of it goes in a maybe somewhat of a square pattern or something. It's usually pretty predictable. It follows really clean lines. It kind of It may make a square shape or something like that, but I found that once I got to a few of them, I pretty much knew how to predict them most of the time. So you should get used to it. It's a pretty similar pattern. And that's the thing with this game. You really don't have to memorize the stages, but the point of practicing the stages is just so you have enough time to get used to all the different obstacles. That way, when they appear, it's pretty much like a remix of all the obstacles that you already learned how to deal with. So you just got to kind of improvise in the moment. But you don't have to have the stages memorized. But I did find it useful to at least practice them until I could beat them without a death. But of course, I didn't remember them when I got to them. It was just, by the time I did that, I had a good enough understanding of how to move through the game. And I beat it pretty shortly after my practice run. Maybe by the second attempt or so. Or maybe third, I'm not sure. But it was pretty soon after. There's some tight movement at this point in the game. As you get farther into the game, it gets more dense with the enemies. So they throw more enemies at you as you get farther into the week. But you're going to use everything you learn, from managing all the separate enemy patterns. You're just going to combine all that and kind of improvise in the moment. And you'll get used to it. But some of the later areas are a little trickier, so it doesn't hurt to practice them since the layouts are always going to be the same. So if you're having trouble with, say, the 6th or 7th stage, you may want to practice that particular stage more. That's what I always do with save state practice. I practice trouble segments that keep fucking me up. I'll re-practice them and relearn those areas as needed. So a lot of times when I play games, I save frequently so that if I do die, I can go back. I save if I think that I'm going to run into a problem in an area, and that way if I die on that part, I'll go back and practice it after I fail my run. I'll refresh my memory on that part and practice, troublesome sections. So this is the training course. But yeah, with this game, I didn't need to be aggressive with save state practice. I just, it was very easy overall, so I just mainly practiced the stages once, And I'd make a save state at the beginning of each stage, and I would just keep loading the state. And I have both save and load state functions on pedals, on separate pedals that I use, so I don't have to reach to the keyboard while I'm in the middle of playing the game. And I started doing that after beating Gunsmoke for arcade, which was this ridiculous game that I beat on the channel and did a tutorial for, but it was extremely difficult, and I would die pretty much as soon as I reloaded on a boss to practice the boss. I would die like within half a second, and it became pretty exhausting to practice it for hours. So I started thinking about how could I, do save and load states, like with a foot pedal without having to fuck around with the keyboard. So that's what I always use now. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Once you make it through the 7 days, as long as you have one subscriber, you'll beat the game. If you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.